Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio Saturday College Football Kickoff Show. Saturday, December 4th. Ian Cameron, Conor Mack, DJ Big Boss, and we salute our colleague and comrade Big Ragu. He's not with us today, but his son is getting married, and we wish him and the fam all the absolute best on this very special day for Big Ragu and his family. So hopefully it's a great day for them. Hopefully it's a great day for every college football fan and better, because this is one of the most exciting days of the season. It's Conference Championship Saturday. This is when all the conference titles are decided. This is when we find out the college football playoff picture. And I don't know if we've seen a year since the playoff format came into fruition where we've seen so much uncertainty with how the college football playoff picture and the four teams that will ultimately be in the playoff will unfold going into a championship Saturday as we do today. So there could be still a lot of chaos depending on the results, and looking forward to seeing how it all breaks down. Before we get to the Saturday card, obviously we only have, a handful of games on the Saturday slate. So we're going to start just talking briefly about last night's action. We had the Conference USA Championship. We had the Pac-12 Championship, and credit to the home base, Pub Sports Radio, San Antonio, Texas. Stand up. Be proud on a day like today. A terrific win for the UTSA Roadrunners last night. Meep, 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 meep. The Roadrunners get it done over the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. An outstanding victory for them, and a Conference USA Championship for the first time in program history. And to think where the program was, many years ago when they first joined the FBS ranks, Larry Coker, the legendary coach, was their head coach at the beginning. They had a couple of good years with him, but a lot of tough years as well. It was really a down program for a few years, just as of 3-4 years ago. And in comes Jeff Traylor, the new head coach. And man, what a job he did here at UTSA. They got better each year under his watch, to the point now where they, had a senior-laden team led by Frank Harris at quarterback, Sincere McCormick, who's just been an absolute machine running the football all season long for this team. A terrific win. And in a game like last night where it was two explosive offenses, it was about which team was going to come up with those few stops. And UTSA put together 3 or 4 consecutive stops against Western Kentucky in the second quarter. And that ended up being the difference. And thank goodness they did, because it felt like once we got into that fourth quarter, guys, Western Kentucky was going to score on every possession. They finally got that rhythm going, because that's what they can do with Bailey Zappi. We saw it against Marshall. Once they started scoring last week, they couldn't stop, and they hung 50 on them. And it felt like that was going to be the case again fourth quarter last night. But unfortunately, you know what? They ran out of time, and they fell short. And those stops and those abilities to get stops on defense for UTSA in the second quarter were the difference. Couple of missed field goals for Western Kentucky really hurt as well. And that ended up being the difference. So props to UTSA. Terrific season, 12-1, and Conference USA champs for the first time in program history. Conor, how was the game to you? Did you like the game? Did you bet the game? I know I had a split on the game. I had Western Kentucky, bad side. Silly me to go against UTSA, especially once they become home dogs. But at the same time, I had UTSA to win Conference USA before the season at plus 340. So I figured, hedge it out a little bit. No harm, no foul. We get UTSA. One of my conference futures hits at plus 340. And I also had the over, and that was relatively easy in that game last night with the Hilltoppers and the Roadrunners. Conor, your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, that game was crazy. Just that I thought the first half, those big stops, the field goals, UTSA, and they built that lead. But yeah, once they got rolling, they came back. Tons of points. I had the over. I didn't take a side, and I almost at 3.5 went with UTSA last night. I didn't. I just stuck with the over there. And yeah, congrats to UTSA. I'm sure Jose and everyone are stoked about it. So,
well, they're still hungover right now as we speak. Yeah. What, are you kidding me? 9 a.m. Central Time. They probably are conked out somewhere right now after a night of whooping it up for that big victory. DJ Big Boss, UTSA, what can you say? Terrific year for this team. Oh, you're muted.
It was the highlight of my Friday, man. I had got on the show earlier that day with Jimmy, and I guess I was natural big boss on the show because I was on the over and the chat was tearing me up on the under.
Ah,
They were talking about 84% of the money is over here and the sharps
yeah.
are this and that and yada yada yada. And I just broke the game down the best I could, and it had over written all over it. I gave out the over, but funny thing was one of our guys that run the show over there, Jose, he hit me before the show and he was like, "Man, I'm here at the game. Please tell me you're not on Western Kentucky." I was like, "Nah, not really on Western Kentucky, but I'm on that total though." But shout out to him. He was all UTSA. I kind of thought that that Zap would have came out and Zap, however you want to pronounce it. I thought he would have came out and did a better showcase for the
Yeah.
NFL. With a victory would have looked better, but he did do a nice job. He showed some ability. He showed some arm strength. So I think he's going to be signed, sealed, and delivered to the combine and on his way to the NFL. So I guess it worked out for him. And I guess it worked out for me because I jumped in there too, and I got a little of that first half over as well at 38.5, and it was well above that. For a minute in the second half, it kind of slowed down for a second, but
It did, yeah.
But Western Kentucky, I mean, if you really looked at it, some of the stuff that slowed them down, turned touchdowns into field goals, was like bad snaps and just some blown blocking and stuff like that. But they was having their way with them from the get go. Things just got away from them. But UTSA, I think being at home, and now we know that North Texas game was a fake, man. They sat down for a little while. They knew they had it in the bag to play that championship game at home. Why step up to try to play another tough game against this team that could hurt us, and we can come back and play a good game and secure the championship? So shout out to UTSA. Takes a lot to blemish undefeated season to secure the win and the championship, but they did that in school history, man. Shout out to them.
Yeah, no question. Great job by UTSA. And the other game, Pac-12 championship, and unbelievable that on the same night last night, two of my futures that I bet before the season, conference futures, and we can go back to college football preview shows. Conor and I, we did just a slew of college football preview shows right here on the channel. Every conference we went through, I remember those, was in August. And for the Pac-12 preview, I said Utah to win the Pac-12. They're live. And I bet it, plus 600. They get the job done. Look, that was not looking good the first couple weeks of the season. Remember, Utah got off to that slow start. Brewer was there. It's like, what's wrong with this Utah team? Most of their 3 losses were very early in the year, and then they just got red hot. After that, they got rid of Brewer. They went with Cameron Rising, and the rest is history. And they started playing their best football. And man, do they have a couple of great tight ends. 2 of them last night, including Kincaid, outstanding. You talk about guys that are going to be good for a while. And the thing about Utah is their defense, which was very young, one of the youngest defenses that Kyle Whittingham's had all in his career. They're all going to be back next year, most of those guys. And they really got good down the stretch of the season. So this Utah team looked out. They won the Pac-12 this year, guys. There's a look now that they might be even better next year with bringing back most of these guys. So this is a very good team now, and it's going to be probably a great team next year as well. I mean, Utah is going to be one of those teams. I may look at them as a long shot for the national title next year. I mean, obviously it's going to be tough. You still got to get in the playoff, but if they just get in the playoff, that's what I'm looking for. I think they're going to have a shot because they're going to have a damn good team. It felt, boss, like, I was watching the same movie I watched a few weeks ago with Utah versus Oregon. It's just domination along the line of scrimmage. There was no room to run the football for Oregon, just like the first meeting. Anthony Brown under pressure was horrible in last night's game, just like the previous game in Utah. I don't know what on earth he was thinking toward the end of the half to not just run out of bounds, just take the loss of yardage there. You weren't going to make a play anyway. That is beyond bad decision-making at the quarterback position, what I saw from Anthony Brown in that second quarter. You just can't chuck the ball blindly across your body near the sideline, right into the teeth of the Utah defense. And that's exactly what he did, and it set them up for a field goal at the end of the half to make it 23-0. That's the kind of night it was. And I hate to say this about Anthony Brown, but a big game quarterback this year he has not been. I mean, other than the Ohio State game, that was the one time he played pretty well. I'll give him that. But here down the stretch, that's not been a good big game quarterback here, Anthony Brown. The 2 Utah games absolutely shit the bed. Field goal kicking, no good. Defense, not great either for Oregon. And to be honest, kind of felt like Whittingham outcoached Cristobal, in back-to-back games, these head-to-head matchups. So Utah dominant once again over Oregon for the second time in less than a month. Congrats to them. Full marks for being Pac-12 champions. And full marks to the Utes fans. I mean, they destroyed the Duck fans in terms of attendance and showing up for their team at Allegiant Stadium last night in Las Vegas. That was like a Utah home game. I was impressed with the crowd support for Utah last night. You could tell that whole program wanted to win that game because Utah's rarely, if ever, been in the Rose Bowl. It is a big deal for them to be in the Rose Bowl, and now they are going to be there making that trip to Pasadena on New Year's Day. Conor, Pac-12 championship, just another dominant performance over Oregon for Utah.
Yeah, they're just the better team. They were in the first game. It was Leary, of course, the second time around, but that didn't matter. They're just more physical than them. You talked about it. Brown's horrible all year, other than the Ohio State game and Oregon State last week. That first half, he was unreal. I'm like, where's this guy come from? But he went back to his normal self last night, and Utah took care of business, had the under, so everything was good last night for me.
It is. That's a great night. Over in the one game, under in the Pac-12 title game. Nothing wrong with that. Boss, Utah, very impressive.
Man, I told him on the show that my therapist and the Oregon thing, I wasn't supposed to have nothing to do with that game. But once again, a lot of my angles, I'm going to write them till I write them all the way out. And that was a chance right there. I'm big on fourth-year coaches. Cristobal steadily standing behind. This was his best group. It's supposed to be his best group. I felt in the coaching matchup that he was supposed to be the better coach, but at the end of the day, he wasn't. Brown's a horrible quarterback, man. That's not even sugarcoat shit. It's not so far as his performance when he plays well. It's his performance when he plays bad. The interceptions that he threw were like high school read type interceptions that you throw. Like, you don't throw in those areas. And like you said, like Ian said earlier, you don't throw those lackluster passes, turning your body across the field. Like, there's certain stuff you just don't do as a college quarterback with any hopes of leveling up, at all. So the guy's just trash. Maybe that's what's holding Cristobal back, just faith in the wrong players. But I watched after the game, the coach over there at Utah, he spoke of this being one of his best teams, and that he said their work ethic, the preparation, and those are the best edges in the world, is if you can get in the locker room with these guys. And he just spoke of those things that has the heart of champions, the work ethic, the preparation, the steady foot on the gas type mentality. And with that type of mentality, yeah, you can beat a team twice, but technically you're not supposed to be able to do that. Cristobal, he's supposed to be able to go back and come up with a plan to defeat these guys this time. But I guess it was similar to the UTSA game, because neither did they go and have a plan. Like, that game shouldn't have went over like that. Those guys should have been able to create some type of plan to stop them. Those guys did the same plays and got the same results with the double quarterback pass or whatever, that they did in the games prior. So that's not really good coach football. So I'm not in belief that this Utah team could make an impact on the big stage. Maybe they can control the Pac-12, and there's always somebody that kind of controls the Pac-12, but the Pac-12 is still not ready to step up into the big scene. If they start going into the playoffs and stuff like that, they're not ready for the SECs, the Big Tens, or nothing. They're just not playing football on that level. And the last we seen of the Pac-12 doing great was the Pete Carroll era, and you're not gonna find. I was like, two left shoes that worked or something. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my take on it.
Two left shoes that worked. I don't know. I've actually accidentally put on two left shoes on my feet before, and it hasn't worked too well for me. But that's a different story. When I was a kid, tripping and falling, and we're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I feel like I'm, got some kind of issues here. But that's why. Yeah, two left feet Be careful with that. So there we go. Congrats to Utah. Congrats to UTSA. We'll see who joins them as conference champions today. Let's before actually Brian Kelly. We'll bring that up because we wanted to. DJ Big Boss, huge Notre Dame fan. I mean, this whole stuff with him it's like a soap opera. It's like it's hard to fathom what's happened here. He just said a week ago, after the Stanford game that when they asked him, "Are you interested in this job, that job?" He's like, "No." I mean, it's like I'm going to give you the Mike Tomlin answer. I'm staying put, and all this nonsense, and then turns around a week later, bolts for LSU. Comes down to the campus on that Tuesday morning to do a little 3-minute speech to the players to say I'm leaving, and then doesn't say, doesn't hug anybody or console anybody or goodbye, or just says his little thing, his little speech, and just bolts out of there. And then everybody was just stunned with the developments that went on. And then you get Brian Kelly when he signs the new deal with LSU. He appears at an LSU basketball game earlier this week. He's trying to put it on like he's a Southerner. All of a sudden, you got to be kidding me. I mean, and the funny thing is, they've exposed the charade here because they actually played a clip. Brian Kelly saying the word family to Notre Dame, and he's like, "You guys are like family to me." And then he gets down to LSU. "I'm here with my family," and you hear him saying it with that, trying to say it with that Southern, and like he's honestly trying to placate himself to the fan base down there. And like, I'm one of you now. I'm a Southern guy. Let's get it. I'm just going to meld nicely right into the LSU culture here. I mean, you talk about a phony baloney from a mile away. That's starting to look like Brian Kelly right now for Notre Dame. Now, you could argue, why did he do this? Well, money. That's number one. Number two, we talked about it. I think Boss is on the money. He said it before we went on the air. I don't think he believed anymore, Brian Kelly, this was a national championship team or a team that could win a national title. Yet I'll say this right now, if the dominoes fall where they do, that allow Notre Dame to get into the playoff at the end of the day today, you better believe you've got a pissed off, fired up, motivated Notre Dame team going into the playoffs should they get in there to prove Brian and everybody else that doesn't believe there's a national title team wrong. Now, at the end of the day, I think they're still at a disadvantage from a personnel standpoint against some of these teams, but boy, they're certainly going to be fired up and have the utmost chip on their shoulder to prove him and everybody wrong across the landscape. So fascinating and crazy week. And it's not just him, obviously Lincoln Riley to USC, just all kinds of coaching carousel maneuvers this week in college football. Boss, we'll start with you. You're the Notre Dame guy. What a chaotic week for the Fighting Irish.
Hey, man, I know Brian Kelly's out there watching this show, man, because he definitely cares what I have to say. But I don't know, man.
Yeah.
You took a cheap shot at us, Brian Kelly. But with all due respect, I can. He's by far my favorite Notre Dame coach ever. He's a classy guy. He's a great coach. He was adverse. He came in calling plays, had to learn how to sit back, and he's learned a lot in the role. But he said it before many times. He said his problem with winning a national championship is the same problem that all the other schools have with winning a national championship. And I don't know if that went over a lot of people's head, but he was basically saying, like, we can't get the players the same size and caliber as Alabama, basically, and Ohio State. And all my alumni guys and people that pay attention to college football on a whole nother level, you already know the academic requirements, the type of school Notre Dame is. We're never going to stoop to the level to allow athletes to come in for size, power, or any other reason than to play football and go to school. So a lot of these universities, players are coming there to do more than just go to school. Playing football is first thing over there. So that's just a reality. There's plenty of schools out there that a 10-game season is great. Alumni's tossing in money and everything, because they're not even 10-game season and a bowl game. Wonderful. They're not even worried about going to the national championship like that, because they're not even built to play against players like Alabama and stuff like that. I mean, and it even falls true, like teams like that's even in the SEC, like they've been building for years. LSU, Texas A&M. If you look at Mississippi, they changed it around. Like they're like, we're gonna go for the speed approach, so they size it down and they're going faster. Everybody's trying different things to catch up with the size of Alabama, and you could say Georgia at this point, because Georgia is really sized the same as Alabama, but they're slow. They can't match the speed, size, and strength of Alabama. So I don't know. Kelly's a little far-fetched thinking that he's going to go to LSU. Maybe it's the deep pockets at LSU that makes him feel like, okay, they'll go get me what I need to do this. But, coming from a school like Notre Dame, having any kind of integrity or anything like that, like, I don't think Kelly's cut out for the scandal that's gonna go along with that. Like he's not cut out for sliding kids money and having, buying houses for parents and all that extra stuff that goes along with those type of programs. He doesn't want to be involved with that kind of stuff. So long term, this may not work out for Kelly, but if he can come in here, they have that quarterback over there that's the ex NFL player's son or something like that. If he can come in there and groom up the players that they have to play right away, he might be able to take a shot at it in the next 1 to 3 years. But when you start going 4 or 5 years, he's not going to be able to build what he built at Notre Dame at LSU, because it's going to involve some illegal recruiting. It's going to involve a lot of other stuff to get these players that's that size, and lower the academic standards to allow them to, just come and play football, what I'm saying, focus on solely football and eat rice, beans, and corn, whatever you want to say. But, I don't see it as a good long-term thing. But enough about Kelly. On to Notre Dame. I think I would have preferred Fickle over Marcus Freeman. I think it takes away from the defense to take Freeman to the head coach position, opposed
you just
to
got to
bringing.
oversee so many other things. You're not just calling
Right.
plays on the defense anymore and scheming
Yeah.
and working with that unit in practice all week. You got to say, oh, how's our offense looking? Oh, what about our special
Exactly.
teams? Oh, how's the injury
Exactly.
situation? Who am I going to put in here? There's just so many more responsibilities. Yeah.
Yeah, we should have brought in Fickle, who's been handling Cincinnati. If you look at Fickle, he's an ideal candidate, just like when Kelly came over. Like, he has the same mindset and everything. And then we already have Marcus Freeman, who was his already. So if you would have reunited those two at Notre Dame with the recruits that we already had, we'll never lose a beat. But with moving Marcus Freeman over there, we kind of exposed ourselves a little bit. Can't forget, we only returned 3 on offense and like 3 on defense from last year. So this is a totally young group. They might have had a fired up season this year. They could turn around next year and flop. So we'll see how that goes. But hopefully Marcus Freeman keeps that defense fired up. Defense wins games.
No, I do. I actually like the hire. I wouldn't mind Fickle either. Obviously, Fickle's done a great job there, Cincinnati. But I think you had to make Freeman the head coach. I mean, the players wanted Freeman to be the head coach. They went to Jack Swarbrick, the AD at Notre Dame, and told him, "Hey, make this guy our head coach." They really lobbied for Marcus Freeman to be the head coach, and then you saw the reaction when they introduced Marcus Freeman as head. The players went nuts. I mean, they were just beyond stoked, beyond excited, beyond ecstatic. They loved this decision, and I think it's telling about Brian Kelly. And look, this was a 2x4 upside the head to the players that Kelly just up and left. You needed to do something for them, I guess, a little bit. And I think this was like, hey, you guys have been through a lot. This was blindsided you that Brian Kelly was leaving. You love Marcus Freeman. You clearly do. He's done a great job with the defense this year. Let's be honest. He's done a great job. Terrific with that defense. Let's make him the head coach. If you really love this guy this much, we're going to make him the head coach. So I think it's going to work out, because I think the players truly love the guy, and I think he loves the players right back. And I think it's going to be and personality-wise, Marcus Freeman is vivacious. He's outgoing. He's charismatic. He's a family-type man, whereas it's a stoic CEO type of a company type of approach with Brian Kelly. So it's like a completely different personality, and I think it's going to be a better thing for Notre Dame with Marcus Freeman there. So I actually like the decision that they've made here in this one, and it'll be fascinating to see moving forward how things go for Notre Dame. And I think it's telling too that Brian Kelly, like, piss off from Notre Dame and everybody there, that all of his staff that was with him at Notre Dame pretty much stayed put with Freeman. Tommy Reese is still the offensive coordinator. The strength and conditioning coaches, most of the assistants have all stayed at Notre Dame. They stayed with Marcus Freeman. They didn't flock to Baton Rouge down to LSU to join Brian Kelly. I think that's really something that's telling that, hey, we don't love what this guy's done here. Just up and leave here last second when he just said a week ago, I don't think I'm going anywhere for the rest of my career. I'm staying in Notre Dame. So I think for Notre Dame, from a stability standpoint, and the fact the coaching staff is intact and showing the players, we believe in you. Never mind Brian Kelly. Who the fuck cares if he believes in you? We believe in you. And I think that matters moving forward. So I'm excited. If Notre Dame gets in the playoffs, whoever plays them, look out. This is going to be a pissed off, fired up, focused, motivated team. Now, the coach didn't believe we could win a national title. Let's show him. Now, will they win is another story, but you're going to get utmost effort, supreme effort in a playoff game should Notre Dame get in there. Conor, Brian Kelly, the shenanigans this week, what were your thoughts on them?
Man, you guys said it all. I'm ready to get to today. He's a piece of shit. I mean, everything he did, all the fake Southern accent and the whole deal. Notre Dame's better off without him there. But I don't know if Freeman's the answer long term. Maybe Fickle is.
He's got to show his recruiting chops, because the one thing Kelly did was show the recruiting chops. We'll see if Freeman can do that.
Yeah, he's got to recruit, but he recruited and then he would bitch that he doesn't have the players to win a national championship. So I don't know. Guy's a joke.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, see what you do at LSU. See if you can bring them the national championship that you said just now that Notre Dame wasn't capable of winning. So we'll see how it goes for him there in LSU. All right, let's get to the Saturday college football card. You know what we're going to do? We're going to start with the last game on the schedule, the most insignificant game on the schedule today. It is a makeup game. It is a rescheduled game from earlier this season. USC and California. It's actually the last game of the day, 11 p.m. Eastern, but we're getting it out of the way because it's just two teams that are not even going bowling, two teams playing for exercise, as I like to say. We got Cal 4.5-point home favorites here, 57.5 the total in this game. Really, it's motivation. I mean, you throw out X's and O's, you throw out the matchups on the field in a game like this. It's kind of like handicapping a bowl game. Who's fired up? Who's motivated? Who wants to play? Who wants to finish the season strong? Two teams that even if they win today, nobody's going to a bowl game. So who wants to show up here in a game like this? That ends up being the big question. For USC, do they have that incentive now with Lincoln Riley hire to, does that give them a bump today? Like, hey, we got Lincoln Riley now. He may be watching here, looking to see who he wants to have on this team next year and moving forward. So does that get USC fired up for this game? I'll say this about USC. They've got a quarterback for the future in Jackson Dart. I've been impressed with this kid. And finally, they got rid of they sent Slovis to the bench and gave enough with Slovis. Slovis wasn't very good. Jackson Dart is your future. Give him a few starts down the stretch. See what he's all about. They've done that. And he's played well. I mean, the UCLA game, 33 points. The offense did well. The reason they lost is because of the defense here in this one. And, of course, in the last game against BYU, I was very impressed. BYU's got a solid defense. USC, 31 points, 35-31 loss. Very impressive numbers from Dart. 23 of 35, 248 yards in that game. Grand total of 458 yards against that BYU defense. So, I like what I'm seeing from the USC offense here with Dart at quarterback, even without Drake London, which was a big injury, their best receiver several weeks ago. That offense has been rolling a little bit the last 2 weeks. On the other side, you got Cal. It was a bad game for them against UCLA, 42-14 loss. Chase Garbers was Chase Garbage. We've talked about that. That's what we call him when he doesn't play well, and he did not play well last week against UCLA. But guess what? He's playing a USC defense that's really not all that good. You look at this USC defense. The last 6 games, guys, 42, 31, 34, 31, 62, 35 points allowed. I got to believe that Garbers and the Cal offense can move the ball pretty well here in this game, rather than either side, because I don't want to lay 4.5 with Cal, and I don't want to take USC. I haven't been betting USC. They've kind of been a bet against, even though they did cover last week against BYU. I don't know if I want to take them this week. I'm going to maybe just look at the over here, 57. Meaningless game. Two teams playing for exercise. Just go out there, put some points on the board, have some fun. I don't expect defensive intensity necessarily on either side. And to be honest with you, we talk about Cal's defense for years being good. This year, whenever they faced really good offenses, they've struggled. UCLA shredded them for 42. They gave up 34 to TCU. Even Washington got 31 on them. So a couple of bad performances from this Cal defense. And USC's got an offense now with Jackson Dart at quarterback for them. So I think I'll play over 57 if I'm going to bet this game. Conor, what do you think here, USC Cal?
Yeah, we talked about this on the Monday show. I'm on the over. I couldn't believe Cal couldn't score a touchdown in that second half against UCLA. SC's mailing it in, like Nutflush said. I think this is, I don't think much team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, there's not going to be much, going crazy here. So I'm just on the over. I'm not messing with the side at all here. I think both teams are in the 30s here. So over.
There it is, the Conor Mack over for USC.
Bank it.
Cal. DJ Big Boss, what do you think here? Golden Bears, Trojans.
I'm gonna take the weird. It's not actually senior day, but maybe like senior's last day on the home field. First half, Cal approach towards it, and maybe this Cal defense puts because they always have tough defense, and Cal has posed a threat. Now they haven't won a lot of games towards USC, but in their past history, they've posed a lot of threats on USC quite a few times. So maybe that defense gets to them a little bit in the first half and gives them an opportunity. But I would expect USC players to kind of, now we're talking about a new nice coach. Nobody wants to just lose all their spots. I want to go showcase my talent. So if the coach or his staff or anybody's looking, maybe I get a shot at starting next year, So I would lean towards USC full game, but I'm going to play the senior role with Cal and take Cal first half.
Yeah, Cal first half -3. That makes some sense because you'd expect maybe first half, in front of the home fans, the seniors, and there's a bunch of them on this Cal team, come out strong early. So yeah, I like that angle, that thought process there. Cal -3. Yeah, that's just my saying that I always use playing for exercise when it's a meaningless game. There's not a lot at stake, and I always say that. Yeah, playing for exercise. That's this game. That's the only game, fortunately, that we're breaking down on this card that doesn't have anything at stake. Everything else does. The rest of the games, conference championship games, will start with the Big 12 championship game, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas, aka Cowboy Stadium, Jerry World. That is where this game will be. Baylor, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State now 6.5-point home favorites in this game, 45.5 being the total in this one. The number's risen the last, I would say 24 hours on the Oklahoma State side. So is that a sign perhaps that we're not going to see Jerry Bohannon? That's the big question mark hanging over this game, is whether he will play for the Baylor Bears. Bohannon was practicing in a limited basis earlier this week. His mobility is limited if he does play. I know Sean McDonough, who's doing the play-by-play for this game on ABC, said earlier this week in an interview he did that he talked to the Baylor coaches, and they think after talking to them, he thinks that he's probably going to give it a go, Jerry Bohannon, and start in this game. The question is, how healthy is he? How mobile is he? And from what I've heard, his mobility is limited by this injury that he has. So that ends up being a little bit of a question mark. For Oklahoma, early in the week on the Monday show, hitting the books, I made a case for Baylor plus the points. I got to admit that case for Baylor I'm not as strong on it now as I was on Monday. The quarterback situation, I love Oklahoma State with all my heart. They've won so much money for me this year. It's not easy decision for me to want to bet against them. They're playing for their playoff lives. Really, look at it this way. Oklahoma State, they're in the playoffs if they win this game and Georgia beats Alabama. To me, if those two things happen, Oklahoma State's in the playoff. That's what we're looking at here, I believe, when it's all said and done. So that's why this ends up being such a significant game here for Oklahoma State. They've got everything they want right in front of them. They're on a 9-0-1 against the spread run in their last 10 games. Like, do I really want to go against that? I mean, I know I leaned Baylor early in the week, but do I really want to go against that? A team that's just win and they all of a sudden they got a real good shot at the playoff, and they're 9-0-1 ATS. They've been a money-making machine all season. Do I really want to go against Oklahoma State? And now with Bohannon's murky status, the line moving up, I'd probably now need 7, if not higher, to get to Baylor. as of right now, this is probably going to be a pass for me. I'll say this right now for Oklahoma State's defense, which had a great second half against Oklahoma last week. The offense is getting better. Spencer Sanders is getting better. The run game's getting better. The O-line's gotten a lot healthier down the stretch. So while we talk nonstop about the Baylor defense, the Oklahoma State defenses, they're both great. Oklahoma State's offense has gotten better here. The reason I say that is be careful with the total. It's down to 45.5. I don't want this to be like the Bedlam last week where it felt like, man, the Oklahoma State defense, you got to bet it under, and it ended up being a shootout. I'm not saying this will be, but be careful. It's indoors. There'll be no weather. And now we're talking 45.5. That's a pretty low total for a Big 12 game. So I understand the people betting under. I don't know if I'd want to bet it now with it being 45.5 in this one. Conor, your thoughts here, Big 12 championship?
Yeah, this was the hardest game for me here out of all these championship games. Because Oklahoma State, like you talked about, they're 9-0-1. How do you go against that? I think they win today. It's just, do they cover? If you like them, I think you take the 6.5. If you like Baylor, because we don't know Bohannon if he's going to play, and I think if he plays, he will be hobbled. I know the backup, the kid, he played pretty good while he was in. And if he's in too, Baylor, no matter what, a hobble Bohannon or not, their defense has to come to play, and their defense has been pretty good all year with Baylor. Yeah, and initially I lean towards the under. This has dropped though. When you start getting to 45, this could slip over. So this was the hardest one for me. It was a pass. I'm not on anything here.
I think from a line value standpoint, the value's on Baylor. There's no question, because there's definitely people I've talked to had this line around 4, 4.5, not 6.5. But the situation, you can't just always bet. You want to bet numbers when you think there's value, but you have to factor in the situation. You got to factor in the injury to Bohannon. Bailey Shappen was good. I'll give him credit. He was.
Yeah.
He was good in relief for Bohannon at quarterback for Baylor. But, can he do it here in a pressure spot, Big 12, against a much better defense? Let's be honest. This isn't the Texas Tech defense now. This is Oklahoma State. This is the best defense in the conference. Are you going to be able to measure up against them here in this game? That's going to end up being the question mark here for Shappen. Blake Shappen, not Bailey Shappen. I'm thinking Bailey Zappi on the mind. Blake Shappen for Baylor. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he has to start, how does he fare here against clearly a much better defense than he faced in his first start. No question about that. DJ Big Boss, Big 12 championship. What do you like here? Baylor, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I say run to the window and get that over in as soon as possible before the money starts coming in and bringing it back up, because you got to look for value in these type of games. So you got two teams. I always believe two teams that look too similar, you usually get a contrarian play out of it. And these two teams definitely are similar, pretty tough defenses, progressive offenses. Really, picture for picture, these two teams are about the same. So what's going to happen is they're going to get out there to run the extensive run game that they both have, and both of them have good run defense. So they're going to shut down that run. It's going to result to a bunch of passes, which is pass is going to bring on the value play of interceptions, turnovers, pass interference, penalties. You got actual plays going well. You got big plays. So it's a lot of value in there on big plays and all that good stuff happening that'll get the point spread to go over. So I'm looking for contrarian plays today. These games don't never really play out the way they should. I like the over in this one. Plus, it's like you said, no weather in this one. It's indoors. It's prime time on big TV. All your family is there. Everybody wants to score. Everybody wants to be the man. So it's Big 12 action. I don't even see why the number is that low. That's the biggest discrepancy I see right there. Of course, yeah, both teams have good defense, but I think they're overshadowing these two teams' offense. Their offenses are not ranked, below 100 or something like that. They still both have decent offenses as well that can put up points. So give me the over. I'll take the chance.
All right, take the chance on the. And it is. You're getting it, win or lose. You're getting the best of the number, because this was 49 early in the week, and now it's 45 and a half.
Run to the window and get that in right now.
Yeah. Well, everybody was betting Oklahoma State over the total or under, I should say, last week. A lot of people bet that under, and it ended up 37-33, 70 points. That's the last time I even consider it. I didn't bet it, but I was leaning under. It's the last time I ever consider an under in an Oklahoma State game. Somehow, some way, those games with those two teams, Battle of Bedlam, it turns into Bedlam, and it sure did last week in that game, no question. All right, we go to the MAC championship game, Ford Field, Detroit, another controlled climate, so no weather issues here indoors. Kent State, Northern Illinois. We've got Kent State 4-point favorites here, 75.5 the total in this game. A lot of money on Kent State, lots of money. And I know Conor was kind of leaning NIU early in the week. Well, if he still leans that way, he's getting a better number now, +4. Nothing but unbelievable money move here toward Kent State. Now, Rocky Lombardi is the quarterback with the questionable status going into this game. I think he's going to play. He was held out of the season finale. Again, Northern Illinois didn't need that game nor care about that game against Western Michigan. He hasn't been practicing much this week. I would expect him to be good to go, yet the way the betting markets are reacting here, is this just opinion? Is this an injury move, or is this just opinion on Kent State? What has caused Kent State to go all the way up to -4 here? That ends up being the question at this point in time. But I think Lombardi's going to play. I mean, everything I've read leads me to believe he's playing, unless something's changed, here. And yeah, he's probable, apparently, from what I've seen. So it looks like he's going to be good to go. Not that it's the biggest deal. Northern Illinois has got to be able to run the football to have success. Rocky Lombardi's not going to carry them through the air, throwing the football. But the thing with Kent State's defense is they will allow you to run the football against them. Kent State's defense against the run is giving up 184 yards per game, 4.8 yards per carry. And this is a Northern Illinois offense. You know their numbers in terms of run to pass ratio? They're running the football 44 times a game on average. They're only throwing the ball 25 times a game on average. So 44 run plays, 25 pass plays on average for Northern Illinois. That's why the handicap with their games is always, can they run the football? Will they have success? And if they can, they're going to have a shot. And they probably will have a shot, given Kent State's run defense has had some issues. But Kent's going to move the ball at will against Northern Illinois because, to be honest, Northern Illinois' defense has fallen apart down the stretch. The Western Michigan game that they lost, you can throw that one out a little bit. But even before that, when they had everybody in, 27 against a bad Buffalo offense or a mediocre Buffalo offense, 29 against Ball State, 52 against Kent when they played earlier this year, 38 points to Central Michigan. So the Northern Illinois defense did not play well down the stretch. Totals being bet up. I agree. I mean, look at the score of the last game. It was 52 to 47, 99 points. I'm not saying we're going to have 99 points this time between these two teams, but it's like UTSA Western Kentucky last night. Indoors, low 70s the total. I think it'll get there. I think we see 42-35, 42-38, something like that. That makes sense to me as a final score, an estimated final score. That's 77, 80 points, something like that. I think we get over the total here. I'd be scared shitless. I'll say that right now, betting an under in this game between these two teams. And I like Kent, but I've got Kent to win the MAC. It's one of my conference futures, 14-1. Why would I lay 4 with them here when I've got them as a conference future, 14-1? So I actually am going to bet Northern Illinois money line and hedge this thing a little bit, because I've got 14-1 on Kent State to win the MAC. Just take a little money line here with Northern Illinois. That's what I'm going to do. You can get it at +155, Northern Illinois money line at a lot of books right now, just as a hedge situation. I want to lock in some kind of profit here with that Kent State futures ticket at 14-1. And the way to do that is take Northern Illinois here on the money line. So that's what I'm going to do. But that's just a hedge bet. That's not a really opinion on this game. And I am on the over, though, 100%. I do agree with that total move going up. Conor, what do you think? MAC championship.
Yeah, the total keeps moving up. 74.5, 75s out there. This game, 52-47. November 3rd. Lombardi, I don't know. Even if he's hobbled, he had a huge game against Kent State in the first time. Not only they be able to run it, he threw for 532 and 3 touchdowns against Kent State. Both defenses, I think, will make some stops in spots, kind of like last night, in certain areas. UTSA made a big couple sacks, a few stops. But for the most part, these teams will go up and down. But I think there's too much love here with Kent State. We'll see. Northern Illinois lost here by 5, but all the other games, they won all these close games by 1 or 2 points. In tight ball games, they won all year. So I'll take the 4 points, and there should be points in this one.
Yep. Yeah. If I had no, well, I think I would take Kent State if it was below a field goal. But if I didn't have the conference, yeah, especially now because I have the future bet on Kent State, I'm definitely locking in something on Northern Illinois, because Northern Illinois is going to be able to run the ball, and if they can do that, it's going to give them a chance. That's their offensive strength. It's not throwing the ball with Lombardi; it's running it, and they probably should be able to have success doing that. They did the last game against Kent, but they couldn't stop Kent at all in that game, and I think they're still going to have trouble defensively. NIU slowing down this Kent machine. And by the way, they're one of those teams, extreme up tempo. They can score quickly, and they can score from anywhere on the field. I think they're one of the record-setting teams this year, guys, Kent State, for touchdown drives that last a minute 30 or 2 minutes or a minute or less than that. I mean, they can score just so quickly, Kent State, when they have the ball. Boss, what do you think here with this MAC title game?
Hey, I am the MAC over guy, but on this one, I'm going to be contrarian on myself, and I'm going to lean down on the under, because I know that, for one, a lot of those overs happen on weekdays, and that last game was on a Wednesday. So this time they're going to be playing on a Saturday, and it's in a championship game. And a lot of these MAC games come down to who actually wants to play defense in the championship game. So I'm going to go I'm going to lean. I definitely think Kent State's going to win the game. Sort of a Cinderella season for NIU. I went back and looked at my my magazines for the preseason stuff, and NIU ranked 6th in their side of the division to finish, and here they are in the MAC championship game. So shout out to them. But that creates a mind state where we did way far better than we were supposed to do. Ending up right here is good enough. So I do lean Kent State, but I'm gonna like I said, I'm looking for value, and that number's high. It's probably weighed off of what happened in the last game. Let's hope it's been a while. That was November 3rd when they played, so it's been a little while since they played. A few weeks. So let's see if they broke down a little film and took some time out to try to change some things going into this game and just slow it down a little bit. I think it's going to come close. I'm not saying that it's going to be just a really, really low slowing game under 40 or something like that. I think it's gonna skim close, but the fact that both teams are running teams, that does lie in my favor with the clock, especially if Kent State gets the best of them and gets ahead, and they can get NIU to bow down and start running some clock out in the fourth quarter. So I'm gonna lean on that big number and go under on that one. Opposite of what I did last night with UTSA, but in this MAC on the Saturday, I'm gonna lean under.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a high total. Like, if you have the under, you could still win the game with 38-35 is going to be an under in a game like this. That's only 73 points, and that stays under. So it is a lot of points. I will say this. You're right. Kent State runs the ball. Like, we think Dustin Crum's a good thrower. He is. He can throw the ball well, but they do run the ball more than throw as well, Kent State. And you look on the other side, Northern Illinois run defense, 217 rushing yards per game allowed this year, 5.7 yards per carry. That's the concern. That run the offenses, but you're going to get those big chunk plays running.
And any coach will tell you, like, why throw if you can run? So if your run's still wide open, they're going to continue to run and run clock. So I got a possibility. Like I said, I'm looking for value. There's a slight bit of value in there. I'm going to take that value and run.
Speaking of value, real quick, if anyone out there, I doubt there's not many people, had a Northern Illinois, they were 100-1 to win the MAC. So if anyone's got a 100-1 ticket.
Yeah, I think I've got a good ticket, 14-1 on Kent State. That's nothing.
Yeah, I ain't 100-1, but 14-1, not bad.
Not bad at all. So I still didn't go for the favorites. Like, the favorites were Central and Western and Toledo, and all those teams were the bigger favorites to win the Ball State, and none of them even got close to being in this MAC championship game. Yeah, it is official. Jerry Bohannon out for Baylor, so he will not play in this game. It will be the freshman, Blake Shapen, who, of course, started that game against Texas Tech. Well, different defense today. Let's see if he's ready for it. And there's the Oklahoma State money. You knew it was going to come in now. after the official announcement of Bohannon's absence for this game. So now they're up to 7 in this game. Will it be an overreaction? We'll see. But definitely this is going to be we're going to find out a lot about this kid who's probably going to be the starter, maybe the starter moving forward for Baylor, having to play this Oklahoma State defense today. One of the best in the conference, one of the best in the country. We'll see how he fares against them in that Big 12 title game. All right, next up, we're going to go to the DJ Big Boss special of this Saturday conference championship card, the Mountain West championship game, Utah State, San Diego State. We've got the Aztecs 6-point favorites here, 49.5 the total in this game. Now, this is not on a neutral field. This is just the home field for San Diego State. That's always the way it is with the Mountain West championship game. You get the one of the two teams hosting it, and in this case, it's San Diego State. I'm going to stick to my guns here with what I said early in the week, and that is I'm taking the points with Utah State. I look at it. I don't want to totally rag on Brady Hoke. He's done, there's been a good team this year, San Diego State. I just like Blake Anderson as a coach more than Brady Hoke. And I think what Blake Anderson's done this year with Utah State isn't being applauded enough because it's Mountain West. It's not the SEC or ACC or Big Ten. What he's done is remarkable. This program was in the frickin' pit. It was in the toilet, thanks to Gary Anderson when he left that program in complete shambles after last year. Complete shambles. It was a disaster. Utah State was at the bottom of the barrel in the Mountain West. And look at how Blake Anderson has resurrected and resuscitated the football program in 1 year. It's been remarkable. They're in the Mountain West Championship. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's an unbelievable turnaround. And he's done it with his quarterback that he brought with him from Arkansas State, Logan Bonner, who's had a great year. They have a solid run game. They have a good offensive line. They have a very good offense in general. The difference between Utah State early in the season and Utah State down the stretch and going into this Mountain West Championship game is the defense. It's improved significantly from where it was earlier in the season. And that's a good sign for this Utah State team going into this game. San Diego State, on the other hand, still they do have the better defense because they have a terrific defense, whereas Utah State struggled early and they've gotten a little bit better. But I do have concerns a little bit about the offense. Now, I will say this about San Diego State's offense. Against Boise State, I don't know if I've seen their quarterbacks, and DJ Big Boss watches a lot of Mountain West football and follows it closely. I don't know if I've seen their quarterbacks, Brookshire and Johnson, who both played in that game, throw the ball better than they did against Boise. They actually made some plays throwing the football in that victory over the Broncos. So that was very impressive to see that. Don't get me wrong. But I'll go back to the same betting angle and matchup angle I've gone to all year with San Diego State. When they play a team that can throw the ball around, that's when they struggle a little bit. The secondary is the one chink in the armor for the Aztecs defense. USC there's a couple teams early in the year that threw the ball around against them. Carson Strong in Nevada, had a good offensive game against San Diego State. Fresno State, the one team that beat San Diego State this year, Jake Hayner. They lit up the pass defense of San Diego State. And I think Utah State can do enough here to be able to move that ball and stay close in this football game. Let's not forget, away from home this year, guys, 6-0 straight up, 5-1 against the spread on the road for Utah State. They have been road warriors all year. And I'm just not sure if San Diego State's really good, but I don't know if they're good enough for a touchdown or more victory here in what I think is going to be a pretty close ball game going into this one. So I like the Aggies here at +6. I think we've got a close competitive game, down to the wire type, just like San Diego State had with Nevada and just like San Diego State had with Fresno. It was, they lost that game, but the Nevada game where it was down to the wire, Nevada lost by 2. That's kind of what I see this game being. I think Utah State's right there, and it's a very narrow margin of defeat if they lose this game. And I wouldn't even rule out the possibility of Utah State maybe pulling the upset, but I think we have a close back and forth game either way, and I like the points with Utah State. Conor, what do you think here? Mountain West Championship.
Yeah, I think San Diego State's the better team here. It's just, do they cover as a touchdown favorite in this spot? But in that, I'm not going to mess with this. I think San Diego State wins. I'm on the under. I think it's just too high. The lone game, most of these San Diego State games, 44-45. I know the Fresno game they lost. Their lone loss was 30-20. That got to 50. This is at 50. their defense holds down Utah State, which I like Utah State, and I think the game's close. And San Diego State, kind of like last week, they get a 10-point lead, they'll sit on it, they'll run it, they'll bleed the clock, and this game stays under. So under 50 here.
I mean, they faced very few good offenses this year, San Diego State. They faced two really good offenses, Nevada and Fresno, and those were by far the two teams that did the most damage against San Diego.
But one pushed, one stayed under. I don't know about the side. I'm just looking at the total.
I can't even call Boise a good offense this year. They weren't. Boise was not a great offense this year. They were mediocre. And then the other games were UNLV. We know how bad they were on offense at times. Hawaii was up and down. Air Force, San Jose State, New Mexico. It's like I say, I think this is going to be a challenge here for San Diego State. Now they do have a very good defense. The offense in the passing game has improved. It looks like, by the way, Brookshire is going to start. Lucas Johnson's battling a knee injury, so he may not even be available for Brady Hoke today. It might be Jordan Brookshire for the full game for San Diego State, rather than this two quarterback system that they've been using here for the last few games. DJ Big Boss, you're the Mountain West man. What do you think here, Mountain West title game?
It's probably one of my favorite games of the day right here, because I'm not really liking a lot of games other than the Alabama-Georgia game. It's probably one of my favorite games of the day. I like the Utah State plus the points. For some reason, this game just smells like it's going to come down to a field goal. I really think a lot of games this year has not came down to a field goal. Last year, we had a bunch of field goal games. I think this could be one of them. I've been looking to knock San Diego State off the saddle a whole bunch of times. Like, I was right there when Fresno State got them, but I was expecting Boise State to get them as well. But something about that defense just brings out the worst in other teams' offense. Like, I mean, it's undescribable the way the defense gets after people. So I'm not gonna even doubt that anymore. But the offense is a whole different structure now. Do you think so? You seen the way that passing thing worked last week? It was actually Brookshire in the second half came in and unleashed the arm. What's the chances of that happening again another week after? Not many. Not even with a couple of days to prepare for it. Could they pull that off again? A lot of those were like blown coverages. Cats were like wide open, all kinds of stuff. So that's not going to be the strategy right there. But here's my plan. Listen up, ladies and gentlemen. Here's my plan. Here's the strategy of the game, man. Every championship has a song and a dance that goes with it. The song and the dance is about Matt Ariza, the punter in this one right here. This is gonna, after this game, parents are gonna pack that money up and send some of these kids to kicking school and take them out of soccer practice, because this guy is gonna show exactly how important a punter can win. And if they win this one, this is gonna be a 12-win season for them. This is gonna be a phenomenon for San Diego State right here. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna use this punter to shift the field every time. It's gonna come out, play the best they can on offense, try to see if they can run, see if they can pass, find what they can do. If they get stopped, so what? They'll punt them, they'll pin them up, they'll pull out that ferocious defense. Logan Bonner's been sacked 20 times this year. Anderson talks about, they kind of like slid away with a lot of games. They played really good in the fourth quarter and came back on a lot of games. I'm not sure if Utah can aggressively beat San Diego State. They can slip up and get it or get it covered, but I don't think they can aggressively beat this team. So they're just going to keep pushing them up against the wall and see what they can get out of them. And then on every time they come down, the offensive coordinator is going to sit there and try to dial up something new, Even if it takes all the way to halftime for them to sit down and dial up something new, they're going to figure out where they can exploit the defense and how they're going to get some points on the board. And we're going to take the under, because we're getting a little recency bias after they threw the ball so much last week. So we're getting value right there. I think we got about 4 or 5 extra points because of that. So we're gonna use that all the way, and we're gonna jump on that under in this game. We probably take the under first half and full game on this one. But if I had to take a side, thanks to the public, I mean, if it would have stayed down at like 3.5, I would have had to take San Diego State if I felt San Diego State was going to win anyway. But at 6.5, it's too much value to take it with a team that can score. But I also like if this defense, if they react to this defense like any of these other teams, I mean, sprinkle a little something on the team total under for Utah State, because it's like 20 or something like that. And the team's not getting in the end zone like that on the San Diego defense, and they're not going to have good field position.
It's going to be interesting. You like the under and a lean to Utah State as well, plus the points in this one. Yeah, I think it's going to be lower scoring too. I mean, and plus Utah State's defense, look at the improvements they've made down the stretch. The one concern is, can Utah State match up to the physicality of San Diego State? Because they are a physical team. You know, that's the one concern you have. But look, I think there's a lot of pathways to Utah State covering. They could be down 10 or 14, and there you go. There's your backdoor touchdown late with the defense playing, you know, prevent defense prevents you from covering. That's what I always say.
Real quick,
there you go.
Ian, to start Child's thing, his question, that total was 41, and UNLV scored a late touchdown to backdoor that game that took it over, and so that's how that happened.
Exactly.
And make sure y'all, like Chris Tucker say on what you call him, make sure y'all write it down, take a picture. I don't give a fuck. Matt Ariza, the punter, is gonna make a difference in this game.
Yeah, and this is, by the way, a Fox game. This is on Fox, so it's a national TV game for the Mountain West here. Big network, Fox, has this Mountain West championship game with our old buddy from the Dodgers, Joe Davis, calling the game here today with Utah State and San Diego State. All right, next up, we've got, let me see here, App State here taking on Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. App Sunbelt Championship. App State 2.5-point favorites, 52 the total. I'm going to stick to my guns with App State here. They're in revenge for losing to Louisiana earlier this year. It was their worst game of the year. Now, Billy Napier is going to coach this game, but he's not coaching the bowl game for Louisiana. So this will be his final. It's the final game with this players, with these a lot of seniors here. You all worried it's a big rah-rah effort for Louisiana here, but I like the way App State's played down the stretch. I mean, they've just been absolutely outstanding. When you look at their season, they've destroyed everybody, down the stretch. Now, some of these teams not great, but Georgia Southern, Troy, South Alabama, Arkansas State, ULM destroyed them, and they beat Coastal Carolina. You know how difficult it is to beat Coastal Carolina. App State did that 30-27 earlier this season. This team cannot be playing better football going into this Sun Belt championship game than they are right now. Chase Bryce has been good. Unlike at Duke, unlike at Clemson, he's been good here at App State. The run game with Peoples leading it has been terrific. That was their worst game of the year. All the quotes out of App State, by the way, the head coach, some of these players that say, we want this one badly. They should have left a bad taste in their mouth. 41-13, that was an absolute ass kicking earlier this season for App State against Louisiana. So as long as it doesn't go above 3 at -2.5, which is where it sits right now, I like the App State side in this game. This is another under I would lean. I mean, you guys talked about the under in the last game. This one definitely could be low scoring here. The total in the 52 range. I know the last game got to 54, but look, App State's defense, I think, will play a lot better. And they have shown that they're a lot better than what they provided that day in that 41-13 loss to Louisiana. And look, down the stretch, App State, they've given up, just 17 points in their last 3 games combined. I mean, this defense has righted the ship. Even against Coastal, when they beat them, you hold Coastal to 27 points. That's pretty good. Coastal gets 30 or 40 most weeks. So I like the way the App State defense has played down the stretch. And to be honest with you, coming into this game, you look at Louisiana. The win against Troy was nice. They barely escaped Georgia State 21-17. They barely escaped ULM last week 21-16. And even the Liberty win, you'll think, wow, that was a huge win. Good Liberty team, 42-14, blew them out. No, couldn't have been further from the truth. There was really turnovers. 3 lost fumbles for Liberty in that game. It was really turnovers that did them in. And really, it was an even football game, which is masquerading as this 45 or 42-14 final score for Liberty, or for Lafayette in that game. Louisiana against Liberty, when it was turnovers that really hurt Liberty. in that game. You take away the turnovers, that was an even football game. So that's a bad piece of data in Louisiana's season results this year, that 42-14. And I think they're maybe being given too much credit for that here going into this game. So I like the way App State's been going, both sides of the ball. And this is no disrespect to Levi Lewis and Louisiana. Very good football team. But I think App State at less than a field goal, I do think they're going to win here and pull out the victory. What do you think, Conor Mack? Sun Belt title.
Yeah, I'm on the other side. I'm on Louisiana Lafayette. I was the first meeting, and I get the second meeting. I think App State comes to play today, and the game's closer. It's not a blowout like it was early. But they're right there in Louisiana. This game's being played there. I think they're just the overall better football team. And you're going to give me 3 points. I got the 3. There's a lot of 2.5s everywhere now. I'm going to take it money line as well. In the end, I just think they win. I think they're the better team. Other than that first loss to Texas, this team's nothing but won football games, close ones, blowout teams. So App State comes to play today. It's tight, but I'm going to take the 3, and I'm going to take Lafayette money line. Ragey Cajuns.
All right, there we go. I like it when we have opposite sides on the show. We don't always have that, but it's good. This is a good game. I mean, it is, and obviously there's a great case to be made for the Cajuns in this game. They beat the snot out of App State earlier this year, and they could easily do it again. And revenge didn't work well for Oregon, and didn't work well for Western Kentucky last night in those 2 games. So we're already seeing evidence here on Conference Championship weekend that you won the first meeting in the regular season, you can win again in the conference championship game. No question about it. Boss, what do you like here?
I'm going to tell you this off top. I hate both quarterbacks equally. We looked at them all year. They peaked. I thought the best for what's his name, Bryce over there at App State. I thought that and I remember Ian talk about how much he was a bum coming over there.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, like he's kind of on the bum side of things. And I used to like Lewis a lot. I felt he was like a run and pass threat, and I've seen him really stink the field up on some days too. So I think the game really the side comes down to which team can actually throw the ball today the best, because we both know they have stout defenses, and they both can run the ball a little bit. So we know exactly what they can do. But I think it's going to be like running up into a wall for both sides. So I think I'm leaning hard on the under on this one. But as far as a side, I'm going to go with the revenge factor with App State. But I guess I got caught up with that with Oregon last night. So I don't know how that sits with me today. So I think I just turned that lean into a play and play the under, because both teams, they favor heavy to the under anyhow. Let me see. App State is 5-7 to the under, and Louisiana is 3-9 to the under. So both lean to the under hard, but sometimes those two similarities could lead to a scoring game. But in this case right here, you talk about two teams that if they had to rely on the pass, they're screwed, because both quarterbacks are really poor passers. When it's when the game is on their shoulders like that, they get worse. Now on a normal day, when they not too much pressure, like they'll do great. But you start applying pressure to those guys, and they can't even throw it out. So I'm gonna lean on I'm gonna take the under in this one.
All right, we got a little bit of everything here. Under for Boss, Louisiana for Conor, App State for me. So we're going to hopefully see some winners from this game for everybody that's tailed one of the 3 of us here in this game for sure. Jake, to answer your question, we've got no show next Saturday. It'll be an off day. We need a little break, and it'll be nice to have one next Saturday. 2 weeks from now, Saturday, December 18th, it's the Saturday before Christmas. We're doing a huge Saturday morning at this time college football bowl bonanza show. Bowling for dollars, I think, is what we're going to call it. We're going to preview every bowl game on that show right till the end. Semifinal, playoff games, every other bowl game that morning, Saturday, December 18th. That's our finale for the college football kickoff show. That'll be our final college football kickoff show of the season, Saturday, December 18th. So join us for that. It'll be like a bowl preview show. And then we're going to have 2 Saturdays in a row where it's Christmas Day after that, and it's New Year's Day after that. So nobody's going to want to do shows on Christmas Day, New Year's Day. I know I don't. So we're going to take those 2 Saturdays off. And then I believe Saturday, January 8th, because I'm responding to Jake's question, we're going to be doing a college we're going to turn the calendar over, and January 8th, starting that Saturday, we're going to do a college basketball show Saturday mornings at the same time, 10 a.m. Certainly Conor and I, we hope Maxwell Smart apparently has sworn off doing shows on Saturdays. Apparently, that's what Jeff has told me. But we're going to try to reach out to him to join us on Saturday. Come on, Max. I haven't done a show with you ever. I'd like to do one with you, especially for college basketball. So come on, Maxwell Smart. Get up on a Saturday morning. Join us on starting January 8th for the college basketball tip-off show. That's probably what we'll call it. College basketball tip-off show. Saturday mornings, or Net Profit. We'll probably just keep the name that we use for the weekday show. So yeah, come on, Max. Join us Saturday morning starting January 8th. We'd love to have you with us. I know he said Saturdays are tough for you, but the door's always open to join us. So that's what we'll be doing on the Saturday shows moving forward on the Saturday morning. Bowl show in 2 weeks for college football, and then we start with Saturday morning college basketball shows beginning January 8th right here on Pub Sports Radio. All right, let's go to the AAC championship game, Houston and Cincinnati. We've got Cincinnati 10.5 point home favorites, 52.5 the total. Of course, this is at Nippert Stadium in Cincinnati. They get to host this game. This is an interesting one because, look, Cincinnati, I just haven't timed it right. Like, I bet against them with Temple. They got blown out. I bet against them with SMU. They blew them out. East Carolina, I took a small piece of the Pirates last week. And again, Cincinnati gets the better of me. So it's really, really tough here to say, yeah, let's bet against Cincinnati again. Knowing I haven't necessarily been on them during those 4 games in a row they didn't cover the point spread, and with what's at stake. But now the thing is different for Cincinnati. They just have to win this game, and they're in the playoff because they're in a top 4 spot right now. That's what it's all about. They don't have to get the style points anymore. They really don't. I mean, they just have to think it as win the game. Doesn't matter what the margin. Win this game against Houston. You're a playoff team. It's really going to be that simple. So I'm not really rushing to lay doubles here with Cincy. And Houston's good. Houston's a very good football team. They can play. I'm worried about Clayton Tune in terms of the lack of mobility, because if this passing game gets shut down by this terrific Cincinnati secondary, is he good enough to maybe, make plays with his feet? I'm not so sure. Can the run game help him out a little bit? But Houston's defense is pretty solid. I'm not saying they're on Cincinnati's level, but they're the next best defense by far in the American Conference for sure. And I think they've got the chance to keep them in this game. So I'm leaning Houston with the points here in this one, in a spot where, this could be the game where Cincinnati, like the Tulsa game, USF, some of these games earlier this year, they're right in a dogfight start to finish to emerge with the win. I could see, and Houston again is not chopped liver. They've had a very good season. I think they've got it within them to keep this to a single digit margin. So I would lean Houston with the points. Conor, what do you think here? AAC.
Yeah, I mean, since he is at home here, which is a big, home game basically for him, which is big. I don't love that it's 10.5. I think they win this football game. I just don't know with Cincinnati. It seems like, to me, this is a blowout for them, or this is a kind of a close game. And Houston can hang around. Houston's done nothing but prove me wrong after losing to Texas Tech the first game of the season. They played really, really well. Similar opponents, obviously. This was difficult for me. So it was just a pass. I lean under a little bit. I think both defenses come to play. So yeah, lean under here.
Yeah, lean under the total. I think the first half under too, and full game under, because I could see this, especially with Cincinnati, maybe a little tight early on. This is the last step. They've wanted this playoff spot for the last couple of years so badly. Maybe they're just a little tight early on. It takes them a while to get warmed up.
So maybe they're hyped, and maybe they roll. That's what I'm like. So tough one here for me.
Yeah, that is. I mean, definitely. We'll have to see how it goes here. Boss, what do you think here? Houston, Cincinnati.
I don't know. This one's kind of a pass right here. But I don't know if I were to take anything, I'd probably say, hey, just sprinkle a little something on Houston on the money line. Look for some excitement. Maybe somebody got to be upset today. Houston has the talent to do it, like no doubt. But I don't see laying the 10.5 with Cincy. This game is not going to be the best game even to watch. Like, that's two kind of lackluster offenses right here. It's going to be a real defensive game, but not enough to take the under, because at some point they have to score and somebody's going to score. And it's a nasty game right here. This games like this is the reason why they give these teams in these conferences such a hard time of going over into the playoffs, because this is, nobody wants to see this. Like, this is not a big deal. Like, people want to see Baylor way more than they want to see this game right here. So this is the reason why right here Notre Dame might get in there.
All right, here we go. Next up, SEC Championship. This is whatever you want to call it, the exercise your demons, slay your dragons game, if you will, for the Georgia Bulldogs. Can they do it? Alabama has had their number in the Kirby Smart era. Can they finally slay the beast, slay the dragon, exorcise demons, whatever you want to call it here? It would be a wonderful day for an exorcism if you're a Georgia Bulldogs fan. They're taking on Alabama. Georgia 6.5-point favorites here, 49. I think they are going to slay those demons, and I think they might do it decisively. I lay the points here with Georgia. It's actually one of my stronger sides. There's a lot of games I have a lukewarm opinion. I have a light opinion, like with Houston. Lean to Baylor. I kind of like App State. I do like App State, but I don't love App State. I really do love Georgia here. I think they win by at least a touchdown. When you're having an issue, newsflash, the secret's out. People know now. Alabama's offensive line stinks. It's terrible. All right, now we've seen this against LSU, and we've seen it now against Auburn. They cannot block people. They cannot open up holes for the run game. Bryce Young is under pressure in the pocket, and that was against LSU, and that was against Auburn. And now you're facing by far the meanest, most insanely good defense we've seen in years, the Georgia Bulldogs, with a defensive front that's 10 times what Auburn's is, 20 times probably what LSU's is, and Alabama couldn't block those guys, in those two games. I think it's just a tough matchup. I could see some turnovers happening with that pressure that the Georgia defensive front is going to show here in this game. And look, Alabama, there's going to be, I understand it, underdogs. This is the second time they've been underdogs in the last decade. Alabama, this is not the kind of price range we're used to seeing them in, but I think they're underdogs for a reason. I know there's going to be a crowd that's interested. It's Alabama. It's Nick Saban. They've owned Georgia. You got to take the points with them. Why? What's going to change? Well, what's going to change is Alabama, to me, is not what they were last year, 2 years, 3 years ago on either side of the ball, especially with their O-line. And Georgia, if they're ever going to do it, it's now. And I'm not worried about Stetson Bennett. He actually can move. I actually like that he's a quarterback here and not Daniels, because he can move around a little bit and run with the football. Daniels can't do that quite as much. He's more of a pocket passer. I just think Georgia's got too much balance. They can throw it on this Bama secondary. They can run the football with the incredible stable of running backs that they have on this Georgia team. And it's not just one running back. It's multiple running backs. It's James Cook. It's Zamir White. It's Kenny McIntosh. They've got multiple guys that can run the football here on this Georgia team. Would I want to lay more than 7? No, but below the key number, absolutely. Georgia for me, minus the points. Conor, SEC title game.
Yeah, I don't know if Georgia blows them out, just kicks the shit out of them. But I think they could win by a touchdown here. I know you just talked about, Ian. You're going to get Bama almost a touchdown. They own them beat them every year. Georgia's just better. They're more physical, like you talked about. They're going to put pressure all day long on Bama. That offensive line isn't very good. They'll be able to run it. I got the under 50. It's down to 49. I like the under the best here. Georgia's 7 out of 8 last games have gone under, and the one that didn't, the Tennessee, went over by a point. So give me the under 50, and I think Georgia can win and cover here by a touchdown.
Yeah, and also this is more of a feel for me. I don't know. Maybe if Alabama covers and God forbid wins this game, I mean, that's just going to be an absolute disaster for Georgia. But to me, for Georgia, after years of just heartbreak and they are so chomping at the bit to finally beat this team after, the national title loss, SEC championship loss as well. Finally a chance to get their win against this team. It's not only a team that I think wants to go out there and win, but if they could tack on an extra score too, if they have a lead late in the game, they will. They won't hesitate. They really want to send a message here and really make amends for some really frustrating, painful head-to-head losses against Alabama the last few years since Kirby Smart has arrived on the scene. But fascinating game. I mean, it's all there for Georgia, but you got to go out and execute. Don't turn over the football. Rely on your defense. Be smart. Be sound. No mistakes, no penalties. All of these things. If you play disciplined, clean football, play that defense that's been lights out all year, you'll be fine and you'll take care of business, I believe, today. But you got to do it here on the big stage. Boss, what do you think here? SEC title game.
Yeah, we'll see how tainted the SEC is today. That's for sure. But Stetson Bennett and JT Daniels, I'm not high on neither one of those. They good games look okay, and their bad games look horrible. So you talking about musical quarterbacks that they've been playing all year. They haven't really got the best out of either one. We know facts about Georgia. Defense, run game. That's it. That's the basis of their team right there. That's what they do best. Could we rely on Stetson Bennett to win the game with his arm against Bama? I don't know. But let's talk about Bama. This young dude is not nothing like any of the Bama quarterbacks we had in the last few years. His football IQ, his throwing capability, his mobileness, he is nothing like that. I'm not going to even blame it all on the offensive line, but the offensive line does face this beast of a defensive tackle coming from Georgia today, so that should knock the socks off of them. I like the under as well in this game. Just these big games like this, sometimes the coaches want to play chess. Got to possess the ball to keep the other team's offense off the field. But what I like most about this game is kind of a quirky type thing right here is that we were all on Alabama first halves, which kind of flopped this year. I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but they didn't do well Alabama first half. But guess who we're doing good first half this year? Georgia first half in this year. They've really showed that they like to come out and get after teams early. So I don't see nothing changing today. And I see if Alabama has a chance to do anything in this game, it's going to be in closing. It's going to be Nick Saban halftime adjustment and do something near closing. So this is another one of those games to me that just seems like it's going to come down to a field goal. Classic, like if this was a classic NCAA football game, it's going to come down to possession and field goal. So I'm not sure about covering that. I'm not going to never count out Bama and Nick Saban and what they do over there. So I side with the total, and I take Georgia early first half.
It's one of the games why you love being a sports fan. Throw out the betting just for put the betting to one side for a minute. These are games you love to watch because there's so much intrigue. Yeah. Alabama's own Georgia, but we don't think Alabama's as good this year, and we think this is the best Georgia team under Kirby Smart. But Georgia's had this problem beating Alabama. Can, with their best team now that they've had, and maybe some questions about Alabama, overcome the past results and finally beat them today? These are why we want to watch games like this. Yeah, this intrigue, these questions, this suspense, this storylines. Like, these are the games you love as a sports fan.
Yeah, remember, Georgia recruits the same size big, but not as fast. So even though Alabama has not been that good on the field this year, they're still sized appropriately, and they're just a tight bit faster. So if they take advantage of that today, they can make Georgia look not as good as they are. So we'll see. It'll be fun to watch, like you said.
Yep. It's going to be interesting. It could be one of those games where if you like Alabama, you're right, take a money line. Why not? Or at least make it 50-50. Sometimes I just go 80-20, 90-10 split, spread or money line with an underdog. But this might be one to go 50-50 because I think if Alabama covers, they're probably going to win, or at least a really good chance to win. And obviously if Georgia covers, I think it's more likely to be a blowout. So that's the way I would look at it here. But it's a great game. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. Lots of intrigue, lots of how's this going to play out that we're wondering going into that SEC title game. All right, ACC championship. That one game is in Atlanta, of course, like it always is, the SEC title game. The next one here, ACC championship. It is in Charlotte, Bank of America Stadium, home of the Carolina Panthers. That's usually where the ACC title game is. Wake Forest and Pittsburgh. Pitt is now 3.5 point favorites in this game, 71.5 the total in this one. I really like Pitt. It's probably right there as one of my favorite sides as well on this card today. But I took Pitt -3 and a little money line as well early in the week, -140. And now the money line's like north of -160, and now the point spread's -3.5. So I got to admit, it's getting rich now a little bit on Pitt. But like I said on Monday's show with Conor, hitting the books, which defense, because we know there's going to be points. We know Sam Hartman with Jakari Roberson in the receiving game, with Christian Beal-Smith running the ball, they're going to get their points. We know Pitt with Kenny Pickett, who's going to be maybe one of the top NFL prospects in this year's draft coming up, and Jordan Addison and Kroll, the tight end, and all these Bartholomew, tons of weapons here for Pitt on offense. We know they're going to move the ball because Wake's defense hasn't played well, the second half of the season. But which defense is going to make that extra stand or stop at a key moment in the game to preserve the victory? Which team's more likely to give you that defensive stop? I think it's Pitt, because I think I've seen more evidence this year of Pitt's defense getting those timely stops like they did against Virginia, like they did against North Carolina, which Wake was unable to do against North Carolina. They couldn't stop North Carolina with the game on the line. Pitt did. And Pitt's done that with multiple teams. So these are two teams that are better offensively than defensively. But I think at the end of the day, Pitt's defense can make a stop or two more than Wake can. And I think that's going to be the difference. Wake shut down Boston College, but Boston College's offense was, inexplicably bad the last couple weeks. So I don't want to give Wake too much credit for that. I think when you look at defensive numbers as well, Pitt's defense on the year, it is better numbers. You look at it. Wake on the season, 427 total yards and 6 yards per play allowed. Pitt's defense, 353 total yards, 5.3 yards per play allowed. Better numbers on defense for Pitt. I think that's the difference in a game like this. And don't undersell the intangible element here. Kenny Pickett, who's going to be a surefire NFL quarterback prospect, had a great year. He hasn't had many ABC games. The big major 4 network game. He hasn't had many of those, if any, with Pitt this year. He's got one tonight. This game's on ABC, showcase game, show out against a defense that usually gives up 30, 40, 50 points in recent weeks. Have a big game. I think I like the Pitt team total over as well. I mean, I like Pitt minus the points. I think the better bet might be the team total on Pitt now, 37, 36.5. Go over that team total with Pitt. I think they have a good chance to get 38 plus here tonight against this Wake Forest defense. Again, Wake's defense, I'll repeat, they gave up 48 to 48 to Clemson, who offensively was nowhere near where they've been in the past. They gave up 42 to NC State. They gave up 58 to North Carolina. They gave up 56 to Army earlier this year, Wake's defense. So Pitt team total over, I think, with the line now being 3.5, I think the Pitt team total over is actually the better wager right now, 36.5, 37. And I certainly would lean over the total for the full game at 71.5 as well. Conor Mack, ACC Championship, Wake, Pitt.
Yeah, I thought the team total for Pitt's a solid play here. Now that you have 3 in the hook, for some reason I just see this game coming down to a field goal in the end. I don't want Pitt. We've known them to lay an egg in these big games, but hopefully Pickett and them don't. I think, they have the better defense, but Hartman and Wake Forest will score. Their offense, their defense isn't as good. I just see points back and forth, and I think Pitt has a few more stops in them. I don't love it. So, Pitt team total solid. 3 in the hook's a little dicey with Pitt, but I think they get the win here. Actually,
it's not so much, Conor, the big games that they've had a problem this year. It's the letdown after the big game. That's been the issue for Pitt this year. They've had those Narduzzi letdown spots. But, the big games, they've been good. I mean, the Tennessee win early in the year, the Virginia Tech win, the Clemson win. Then they had the letdown against Miami, the North Carolina win. Yeah, the big games, they've been fine. It's been a letdown after.
This is the biggest, though.
Issues. Yes.
Yeah.
This one
Yeah.
is. No doubt. This is going to be a fun one. This is going to be like maybe a little bit like UTSA Western Kentucky last night, where it just goes back and forth pinball style with the scoring. It's going to be who can make a key stop, who can play good red zone defense, who can hold a team to field goals instead of touchdowns, who can force turnovers. That's what's going to make the difference in a game like this. I think Pitt's got that greater ability to do that. What do you think here, boss?
Man, you took the words right out of my mouth. This game resembles UTSA and Western Kentucky to the T. You got one of those quarterbacks that's going to go to the league like Pickett, and you got one of those teams that's having the greatest season that they could have, like Wake Forest, similar to UTSA. I guess I would lean with Wake Forest in this one. I'm going to take the team with the great hopes opposed to the team with the great quarterback, even though Pitt does have defense, which is a little different than Western Kentucky. So, but which one I like the most in this one is the over. Let's go ahead and take that over in this one because, I think they just light it up.
Liking the over, I would not argue with that one bit. All right, the final game on our Saturday college football kickoff show, final championship game. It's the Big Ten championship game, Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Iowa and Michigan. We've got Michigan taking money. They opened 10.5-point favorites here. They're up to 12.5 now at most books, 43.5 the total in this game. There's some people that are saying maybe Michigan's a little bit in hangovers mode here after the biggest win they've had in forever against Ohio State last week. They never beat Ohio State, and they finally did last week take down the Buckeyes, putting them in prime position to make the college football playoff, currently ranked number 2 in the college football playoff rankings. But I don't buy the letdown here. I mean, how do you let down when you're playing for a Big Ten championship and you can cement your playoff status if you're Michigan tonight with a win here in this game against Iowa? I don't buy into the letdown theory. And more than anything else, I just don't buy Iowa's offense having any success here. Like Michigan's defense, I thought did a good job. Look, CJ Stroud in the Ohio State offense was a machine for like 3-4 weeks in a row, and Michigan got after them last week in that victory. I don't think Iowa's offense poses anything close to the threat for this Michigan defense that CJ Stroud and the Buckeyes did last week. I know Spencer Petras is back. He's going to play here. He's going to be healthy enough to go, but this Iowa offense has really been poor, and they really were gifted a win by Nebraska, in the rivalry game. It's not that Iowa won the game. Nebraska just frickin' spit the bit like they usually do, and they coughed it up. I think that's more the reason Iowa won that game last week. Do I want to lay 12.5? No. But like I said on Monday, Connor, with you, the bet I like here is Iowa team total under 17.5. I think that's the best way to go. I don't have to worry. Yeah, does Michigan, because I could see, what I could see in this game? I could see 27-17 for Michigan.
Yeah.
They don't cover, but the Iowa team total under cashes. That's kind of what I see. And because I don't think Iowa's going to get to be more than 17 points in this game. Their offense is just too limited. Michigan can stop the run pretty well, and that's key. You take away Goodson and the run game, and you force Petras to beat you through the air. It's not going to happen, most likely. So that's the bet I like the most. Iowa team total under 17.5, because I could see this being 28-17, that kind of final score, and Michigan doesn't cover the number, but the team total cashes, or 27-4, you could 24-10 or 24-13, something like that. Like, I worry that Michigan maybe falls just short of covering the double digits as favorites, whereas the Iowa team total under, regardless of that, can cash, even if Michigan maybe doesn't cover the full game point spread. So that's what I like here. Iowa team total under 17.5. It's just, it's a lot of points. And their defense is still capable. But have you seen the defense lately for Iowa? It hasn't been as good in the second half. They had Illinois move the ball up and down against them. Purdue shredded them. They've had some shaky defensive performances, and then some injuries too, key injuries on the defensive side of the football the second half of the season as well, this Hawkeyes team. So Iowa team total under for me. What about you, Connor? Big Ten championship.
Yeah, Iowa, like we talked about all year, just isn't the same defense, and offensively they always struggle. They're going to have to get a turnover or two, run the ball, do all these to keep this game close. And I think they can. I think Iowa's, they're up for this. Michigan, tad bit of flat spot, biggest win in 10 years or so last week. I still think they win the game, but yeah, 2 touchdowns. We'll see. I mean, Michigan makes a big statement. They win this going into the playoff football. But I like the points here. It's ugly, but I think Iowa can, and that offense hasn't been good. But I think they can keep this game close. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a little bit of a feeling. So I lean the points here with Iowa. I'm going to take the 12.
All right, like an Iowa plus. Here's their pathway to victory. And you mentioned the hangover. When you have when you're not sharp and you're not focused or you're hungover or whatever the case, whatever word you want to use, how do you play in that situation? Penalties happen, turnovers happen. Yeah, and those are the things that happen when you're in. If you're that those are the things you look for, and that's what I'm going to look for. Live. That's why this might be a good live betting game. Look at Michigan's execution early in the game. Are they sharp? Are they winning the line of scrimmage? Are they not committing penalties? Are they hanging on to the football? If they're doing all of those things and they're crisp, clean execution, offensively, defensively, then maybe you hop on Michigan live because it shows they're ready. And if they're ready, they could win this game going away. But if they are committing penalties, holding penalties, false start, if they're turning the ball over, and that's Iowa's pathway, Connor, you hit it. That's their pathway. Forced turnovers. They've done it all year, Iowa. They have been a ball-hawking defense all season long. If they do that here, they're going to give themselves a shot. Take the ball away. Give yourself extra possessions. And then when Iowa has the ball, if you're Kirk Ferentz, I'm sure he knows this. I don't need to tell him. Milk the clock. Shorten the game. Make sure you keep Michigan's offense with McNamara and that great ground game off the field with Haskins as long as possible. That's what's going to, and try to force some turnovers. If you can do those things and your quarterback doesn't screw up too much, Petrus, just don't make mistakes, manage the game, they can maybe hang in there. So that's going to be their pathway to do so. DJ, Big Boss, what do you think here, Iowa, Michigan?
Well, I'm definitely leaning under in here. Iowa coach has said many a time before that he likes to slow the game down, possess the ball to try to give his team an opportunity to win. But we know what Michigan does best. They run the ball and they also play defense. So those are another scheme that plays in the hands of the under as well. But I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm blind to the fact of what happens over here in the Big Ten. We've seen this crabs in the bucket mentality happen all throughout the conference with Ohio State. We've seen it happen with Penn State. We've seen it happen with Wisconsin. That's what they do over here. And I talked about it earlier in the year. Like, you always take Iowa when they have plus points. They're sitting in a prime position right here. They give me bonus plus points. I would say this game probably should be at about a 7 right here. But here we are getting all these extra bonus points in a Big Ten matchup. That happens all the time. This happens all the time with Iowa. They come in these games right here. They usually are plus 7 or something like that. And somehow they find ways to cover, sometimes even win. So winning the game is not even out of the question for Iowa in this game against a Michigan team who they're glued to the run mostly because they can't really pass as well as they could, years before. But the run works well for them. When it's working, it's working. So hopefully they get out there and they get the run working. I'm rooting for Harbaugh. I hope he makes it to the next level or something like that. But I'm also rooting for Notre Dame to squeeze their way into the playoffs somehow. So I need Michigan to lose. I need Bama and Georgia to eliminate each other. I need everything bad to happen. So I would love it if Iowa wins this game, but I definitely take them plus the 12 points. So give me Iowa plus the 12.
Yeah, obviously, if Oklahoma State's I think Oklahoma State's out if they lose to Baylor. But if they beat Baylor, and as long as Georgia takes care of business against Alabama, Oklahoma State's going to be in. Notre Dame's going to be the biggest Iowa fan tonight for sure, because that's going to be the ticket to Notre Dame getting in. Is if somehow Iowa shocks Michigan tonight. I shouldn't say shocks. It's not like Iowa's garbage, but they're garbage on offense. They're pretty good and capable on defense, but. Nevertheless, it would still be a surprise if Iowa wins. But if Iowa wins, there's your open door again for.
If we could get a 13-7 in the fourth quarter, Michigan leading 13-7 in the fourth quarter, and Iowa comes in and scores a touchdown, goes up by a point, and then wins it by a field goal in. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Exactly. Feel like this game could be Michigan 31-3, and this game could be like 20-17, right down to the wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It's sort of another interesting game to watch tonight. Gus Johnson special tonight. He's on the call tonight on Fox for this game with Joel Klatt. So we'll see how it goes. Big Ten championship, Iowa, Michigan. All right, we'll get to best bets in just a second to wrap up the show. What a great show! I mean, we could take our time with the games. Finally, we're inside 2 hours with the show for the first time all season. And it was fun being able to talk and really analyze these games with only a handful of them. But before we get to college football best bets, I'm going to throw out a few college basketball plays for you guys for these early. Just a few. I'm not going to go into analysis, just going to mention what I bet. I'm on Nebraska early against Indiana. I think it's just a few too many points. Cornhuskers have been better than I expected coming into the year. I think and Indiana's had trouble covering as home favorites. You know, Syracuse game down to the wire. St. John's, they didn't cover in that game. I think Nebraska hangs around a little bit. The money's come in on Milwaukee against Robert Morris. I like Milwaukee as well, but it's up to 5 now, so be careful. You're not getting as good a number anymore. I think Harvard UMass could go over the total. I'm going to take Ole Miss against Memphis. I trust Kermit Davis from a coaching standpoint a lot more than Penny Hardaway. Did you see that debacle against Georgia earlier this week? Horrible loss. Horrible. Make a free throw if you're Memphis. Terrible free throw shooting team. Again, having a problem with those if you're Memphis. I lean Miami against Clemson. I kind of like Wisconsin laying the points against Marquette. I know Marquette's been better than expected with Shaka this year, but I think Wisconsin is just a good notch better than Marquette. And I'm going to take the points and dare this team to show up. Yale Auburn over and one more. San Diego State +9 against Michigan. I'm going to dare Michigan to show me something positive because right now this team's a mess. Both ends of the floor. Especially offensively. I don't know what's wrong with them when you have Brooks and Dickinson. I don't know what's wrong with Michigan right now, but there are clearly problems. For San Diego State, this is a rare opportunity to go on the road, get a win against a really good or a big-time power conference team, and I think the Aztecs are up for the challenge here. So I like the points with San Diego State there. So there's some early college basketball plays for me. Conor, anything that you like on college basketball?
Yeah, that Marquette, Wisconsin. I like the under 138.5. I agree with San Diego State. I'd take the 9 points. You get 8.5. There's places with 9. I like Syracuse catching 7. That's one's a little bit later here in the day. But I like the 7 with them against Florida State. I'm not impressed by this Florida State team. They are at home. Syracuse hits their shots. That game could go over even though it's a high total. I like the Air Force under 129. Few early ones that I like.
All right, there you go. So there you go. A little college basketball. It's just a little prelude to January the 8th when this Saturday morning time slot here on Pub Sports Radio becomes college basketball from starting January the 8th and right up till the end of the season, right through the tournaments in March, all that good stuff. So looking forward to that starting next month. College basketball net profit tip-off show Saturday mornings starting January 8th right here on the channel. All right, we will wrap up the show with best bets for Championship Saturday in college football in just a second, right after this. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, Southtown 101. Man, the place must have been bumping on a Friday night last night with the big victory for UTSA. So I'm sure it was a Great place to be last night for sure. Southtown 101 in San Antonio. Manscaped promo code PubSports, 20% off your purchase, Lawnmower 4.0 or any Manscaped product using the promo code PubSports. And mybookie.ag, promo code PubSports. NFL, college football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, you name it. All the sports converging at once. No better time than right now to sign up for an account at mybookie.ag. Bitcoin accepted currency for your deposit. Mybookie.ag, promo code PubSports. And someone made a very nice comment there. There it is, Catherine Holmes. I enjoy the informative, easy listening style of your shows. Ian, keep up all the good work. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's not just me. It's Connor's doing great work on this show. DJ Big Boss doing great work. People I work with do great work. It's not just me, but I appreciate the kind words. It's fun to do these shows right here on this channel every single day. All right, best bets. Saturday Conference Championship Saturday in college football. Best bet time, Conor Mack. What do you like for your best bet?
I like too. I already told you I like Lafayette, but for best bet, give me the under. There's a couple 50 still out there. Utah State, San Diego State, under 50 or 49.5. Try to get a 50. There's a few out there. So under. Utah State, San Diego State, under.
All right, Utah State, San Diego State, under the total, 50. Best bet for Conor Mack. DJ Big Boss, best bet.
Give me that Georgia first half.
All right, Georgia first half to come out strong against Alabama in the SEC championship game, -3.5. Georgia first half, best bet for DJ Big Boss. And my best bet, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go Pittsburgh team total, over 37. I was going to use Pitt, a few days ago. I was thinking that'll probably be the best bet for me on the show, but I don't like the 3.5 as much now. I think they'll cover still, but I like the team total bet even more now. Pittsburgh Panthers team total over 36.5 is what you can get at a couple books. I think it's a showcase game for Kenny Pickett, for this Pitt offense against a Wake defense that, look, they've given up a lot of points to weaker offenses than Pitt. Army, Clemson, scored in the 40s against Wake Forest. I think Pitt can get 38 plus. Pitt team total over 36.5 for my best bet on this Saturday college football championship Saturday. All right. Thank you to everybody for joining us. We appreciate it. Again, no show next week. We're off. We're going to have a nice break for one Saturday, and then we will be back in 2 weeks, Saturday, December 18, 10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. Pacific. Bowling for Dollars bowl extravaganza show. We'll run through all the bowl games, early leans, sides, totals, you name it. That'll be a fun show. A bowl preview edition of the Saturday College Football Kickoff Show, December 18th, 2 weeks from today, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. Join us for that. For Conor Mack, DJ Big Boss, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll talk to you again in 2 weeks, Saturday, December 18, right here it'll be the finale edition of the Saturday College Football Kickoff Show. Thanks for watching. Join us for then. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you in 2 weeks for another edition of the Saturday College Football Kickoff Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.